I think that's one of the points that feels difficult to get across sometimes, just that change in how we are approaching the text and how they are approaching the text.
Yes.
If you sit down to read it, you're coming to it with a set of questions or things you want it to be telling you and assumptions about why and how it's written. And trying to remove ourselves from that is really hard because it's how we engage with things all the time. And their set of questions is different. And it's not being explicit with us all the time. Sometimes there's hints of this is why we're telling you some of these things, but you have to ask questions of it to come to some of that complicates maybe how we're understanding it or how we're approaching it, which can be good, but can also be uncomfortable because you start to ask questions of the text, and things like archaeology can start to ask questions of the text. And I want to return to something you'd said about the eyewitness or not accounting of this, because I know there will be people that argue, well, what should we give preference to? Modern archaeology that's done now and is looking at these things, or the biblical eyewitness that they're describing how things happened. And look, they say the walls fell down and the walls fell down. And they say they ran up and look, the walls fell down and now they could run up. And they say they burnt it. So shouldn't we give preference to the biblical record over what the modern scholarship says about archaeology? How would you answer someone that responds to you and says, well, you can say all you want, but it's just critical scholarship and the Bible is the eyewitness, and that's what I need to give preference to?
But the Bible wasn't an eyewitness. The people who eventually wrote it were not eyewitnesses either. And so we have to remember that a great deal of time and space and history has happened since the time the events are supposed to have happened to when the people actually wrote these things down. Now, that's just the way they did things. It's neither right nor wrong.
Right.
It's not a judgment call. It's more of, hey, we do things drastically different than the ancient people did. And the archaeology is also often incomplete. So we don't have, a perfect, complete picture. We have puzzle pieces of a very large jigsaw puzzle where pieces are missing, many pieces are missing, and we're trying to comprehend and put this puzzle together with a lot of missing pieces. And we do the best with what we have. When we have it. And of course, excavations are still going to keep, as long as we can excavate there, could give us more information. But then also within biblical studies and the way, we adopt new approaches or new technology advances, there's all sorts of things at our disposal. So I wouldn't say, to take just one over the other. I think there's a lot of things to consider with both of them, but I do think they're both important.